Steve the Amateur Historian. Hey everybody, Steve the Amateur Historian. And what do you know? Another piece of obscure vinyl coming my way. I didn't put you through the drama of me cutting the thing open, which I usually do, and I don't know why, because it's not substantial. Are you behaving? I'm sorry, one of our cats isn't. Okay, good. Yeah, she's just... Anyway, this is one I really wanted, and there was a few on eBay, not a lot, and they were all really expensive, you know, $20 to $25 before shipping. And I was able to find this one for $15 altogether, so that's more affordable. Where did this get sent to me from? Canada. That actually makes sense because this is a Canadian pop band, Canadian rock band, pop band, somewhere in there. I really love these guys. They've officially released 3 albums because they released an album in '88, which is the one I got. They released an album in 1990, and then they kind of, I guess, seemed to go their separate ways. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but they actually got back together and did an album just like 3 years ago. And that band is called Boulevard, who for the small amount of music they've put out in terms of records, the album they came out with a couple years ago was like, I thought it was okay. I mean, I'm certainly not going to knock them, but I really love the 2 albums that they did in '88 and '90, and this is the one they did in '90. Now, I thought this was just an eponymous album, because you see it doesn't really say, like, you can look at the side, well, actually, it gives it away on the side, but the band was named Boulevard, and I thought that was just the name of their first album, but it's actually the abbreviation of Boulevard, as you can see right here. And if you look at the side here, it also says the abbreviation for the word Boulevard, which is BLVD. And these are the guys in the band, and you know, just getting started, just some guys on a dark street at night, you know, going out, putting music out. I don't know what they do with their free time. Oh yeah, so the front is the band members standing in front of a pole that has Boulevard on it, and then the back side is pretty much the same image, just without anybody in it. And this is an interesting band because they officially got together like at the start of the 80s. The band originated at the start of the 80s, and this is their first album, which didn't come out till 1988. And another one of these bands that never really quite hit it big. They had a couple songs, I think, that charted. They did some music videos. You know, I think one of the reasons they didn't quite hit it is the type of music if this album would have come out in 1984, 85, this band probably would have caught on better. But by the end of the 80s, music was kind of starting to gravitate in a new direction, and they were putting out music that was really good, but was coming out just a little bit too late. They were kind of, at least by the time they finally got an album out, I think they were maybe a little bit late to the game, and so they didn't quite hit it. I don't know if that's true. That's just one of a possible theory. And then here's the LP inside of the wrap. Oh, here's the band again, hanging out. I've always felt like their lead singer looks a lot like the main officer from Twin Peaks. The main officer, like, I don't remember if he's a sheriff or what, but the main officer in the town that works with Kyle MacLachlan. I always felt like their lead singer looks like, he even had the kind of pseudo mullet hair thing going. And lyrics on this side, that's good. But yeah, this is an album that I listened to it online, like on YouTube, and I liked like one song, which is Far From Over, which is probably my favorite song on that the band has ever done, probably. But I listened to the rest of the album, didn't really like anything. I just liked that one song, and then I swear to God, I gave it 2 more listens, and I still didn't really like anything besides Far From Over. Now I listen to it, and like, I don't love every song, but there's like 7 songs on here that I really, really like. And the other 3 that I don't absolutely like, I'm okay with. So that's alright with me as far as an album goes. Now, This is an original 1988. It's even got that cool old MCA Records logo on it, or whatever you want to call it. Sorry, I just came back from Central Oregon and everything is a train wreck. My nose, my mouth, my eyes, everything. So this is an original. I can even see some kind of discoloration on the, I don't know if you can see that. But this is an original 1988 LP, 32-year-old record album. I'm interested in seeing what state it's in. Not bad. Very, very opening of the Muppet movie type thing in the middle there. I can't remember words for some reason. Obviously, same on the other side. And, there's like a little bit of dust on it, but look at that. I mean, that is sheen. The other side, very, very clean. You always love that, especially in an album that's this old and you don't know what state it's going to be in. And this is not an easy thing to find. Again, there was a handful of them on eBay that were all really expensive because it's not a super common album. Although I find that's also the case for albums that weren't that popular, whether you can find a lot of copies or not. If it was an album from 1987 or whatever that didn't really do well, it can be really expensive if it's an album that wasn't successful. Case in point, Survivor's last full album that they did some tracks and they released kind of a compilation album of stuff they'd done in the early 90s and whatnot. But their last full album was Too Hot to Sleep, which was released in I think 88, tanked on the charts. And I looked for that, and there's a lot of, well, not a lot, but there's a good number of copies available on eBay, and I mean, you can't find one for under $30, even though it was an unsuccessful album that probably nobody really wants. But then again, maybe that's why they charge so much. But I'm just looking up Boulevard because I think I put Bard instead of band. Yes, I meant band, you idiot. Because I'm pretty sure, yeah, Canadian band. Again, specifically, I got two Strange Advance albums that are pretty obscure. They were a fairly obscure band, and they were a Canadian new wave band. And there's some elements, potentially, of new wave in Boulevard's music, but it's definitely more AOR, pop rock type stuff. But yeah, I enjoy this album very much. Yeah, see, so they originally formed in 1983, which is what I was looking for. So they formed in 1983. They actually released a couple of songs that they did on these albums later. They released singles of them. I know they released a single of Far From Over back in 1983, but it didn't really hit until this album came out. Now, I want to look at their singles. Okay, yeah, Rainy Day in London was their first single back in 1984, but it wasn't actually released on an album until their second album in 1990. They released In the Twilight. So from this album specifically, they released 4 singles. It only shows where they charted in Canada, though. There was In the Twilight, which is a song I didn't care for and now really like. That didn't even chart in Canada, which kind of sucks. Never Give Up, which I can totally understand would be a very successful song in the 80s. Peaked at 23 on the Canada charts. Far From Over peaked at 26, and then Dream On, which is the opening track, peaked at 31. It looks like their highest charting song ever was Lead Me On, which is on their next album that they did in 1990, and that charted at 21 in Canada. So they were moderately successful in Canada, but didn't quite click here in the States. I don't know, because this only shows where they charted in Canada. It doesn't show how they charted in America, and it's very possible they didn't have one song chart in America. It's entirely possible. Yeah, apparently there's multiple different versions of Far From Over. Yeah, so I'm not having a lot of luck finding where they charted in the U.S. Again, it's very possible Well, how about this? Oh, wait. Did the band Boulevard ever chart in America? And I probably won't get anything. Yeah, I get Green Day, Boulevard of Broken Dreams. That makes sense. America, the band, you are totally just mishmashing my question. Yeah, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere with this. And at one time, Boulevard's this album, it's weird because I found it on Spotify and I was able to play the tracks off of Spotify, but all the tracks, like the listings for the band, like were in a darker font, which usually implies a song used to be there but isn't available anymore for whatever reason. So, I don't know. I'm trying to see if maybe the album is fully on there. They may just have their newer album that they did a couple years ago. I'm not exactly certain. And I never actually checked to see how many listens they got. This isn't even the band, I think. This is another band. This is another band with this. Oh, because I typed in the album name, not the artist. Artist, album. Maybe I'll get lucky. I'm actually surprised Spotify's even working for me. Spotify working on a Mac? I mean, when the hell does that happen anymore? Okay, an Eric Clapton album came up first. That makes no sense. I find that even if I type down the exact name of their stuff, it'll show up on here, but you have to, like, scan and scan and scan. Still not... I didn't bump past it on accident. I know what the album cover looks like. I've seen it numerous times. It's 5 guys standing in front of a pole with the word Boulevard on there. How do I have to go this deep? I typed in album title. Oh, God. This is insane. Like, I can't find it. Okay, well, let's try something else. Type in Far From Over, the actual Frank Stallone. Okay, Boulevard, there we are. Okay, it just... Oh, no. It took me to my local files. Okay, apparently there's... Okay, yeah, this band. Dang it. It keeps taking me back to my local file. Wait, here we go. Ah, found it. It is, after all the searching, it is on Spotify. It may also be regarding, yeah, it says artist. So they may have, I don't know. By everything I've seen, even like their Wikipedia page, it says that their band name is the full word Boulevard, and I know that the cover of their second album, it says Boulevard on it. Now, obviously, this just has this, but so they're being stated as though their band name is actually the abbreviation of Boulevard on Spotify. But yeah, I'm looking at see because I want to find their raw numbers. Yeah, and this is the only album that's on here. So even their album that just came out a little while ago, which was on Spotify, is not on here. Well, no, it might be, but it might be under their actual full band name, Boulevard. That might be why this album is so hard to find, because they're putting the artist name under the name of the album instead of the artist under the name of the artist. But anyway, so yeah. So half the album has gotten less than 1,000 plays. The most listens are Far From Over with 5,564 total, a little over 5,500. Now, granted, it says that this album wasn't put on until 2018, so it hasn't been on Spotify since the beginning, but still, about 2 years almost. Only one song has over 4,000 views. Dream On has 3,756. Never Give Up has 2,380. In the Twilight has 1,188. Western Skies, which is the third track on the album, has 1,059. So the first 5 songs on the album all got over 1,000 listens. And the last 5 songs, side 2 of the album, none of them have even gotten 1,000 listens yet. So you can see what I'm talking about. I like looking at the numbers on Spotify to give you an idea of how obscure a given band name is. This is interesting because I know some of these songs, or at least Far From Over, dates back to like '83, I think. Under each song, it has, general production credits, the writers, where it was done. But in the Twilight specifically says, if I can get it up there, in the Twilight, it specifically says that it's a 1984 song. And the writers that appear on it, D. Roberts and M. Baker, are not, I don't think they're members of the band. I'd have to pull that up. I like this band a lot, but I don't know what the members' names are. But yeah, this is the only song on the album that specifically stipulates it was done in 1980, or at least I guess it was written in 1984, even though Far From Over was. But Far From Over has always been a Boulevard song, so maybe In the Twilight was written by somebody else. But yeah, so D. Roberts and M. Baker. Yep, not members of the band. It says that Glass Tiger is an associated act with them. That's interesting. Are they the guys that wrote this song? Nope. It also says Boston is an associated act, which is interesting. Yeah, so it could be that that's just a song that like somebody else wrote. Maybe they wrote the song, maybe this is a cover. I've never seen this song done by anybody else, but maybe it has been. So there's that. Maybe they co-opted these guys to write a song for them back in 1984, but it's still like technically their song, so they're being given credit and for when it was actually done. Because then I guess probably the rest of these songs were written by members of the band, so maybe that's why Far From Over doesn't have a, thing stipulating when it was written. But there's, a little thing I found. I mean, not too much wear on this thing overall. There's a few little wrinkles and whatnot. I mean, this thing is almost as old as I am. But most importantly, the vinyl itself is in good condition. That's what always matters the most. So I'm really glad I got this. And I want to get their second album, which is Into the Street, 1990. I think that one, like this one, if you try to find it on eBay, is pretty expensive. I might be able to find an, alternate avenue that has that where I could get it for something more like what I got this particular one for. But yeah, this is, as far as obscure, kind of relatively unknown bands, I'm sure in Canada people might remember them, but overall, or even in America, people probably don't know. But as far as obscure bands go, like as far as a whole album, this is probably one of my favorites from the 1980s, and it's from late in the 80s. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say except that I am definitely planning on listening to this. Wow, they had a lot of people remix on this, and a lot of those remixes were done in New York and LA. So even still, a lot of the work was done in America, but it's Canadian talent, so they get the credit for doing all the I guess you could say preliminary work. So yeah, just another piece of relatively, well, I guess you'd say vinyl from a rarely recognized band, and another Canadian one at that. And so, as usual, just each time I get one, I want to do another little video to kind of, maybe talk a little bit about the band if I haven't gotten anything from them before, and then, showing off the condition of everything, in particular the disc itself. And, yeah, that's about it. So, thank you so much for watching. Remember, as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, but keep it nice. And head to my Patreon if you want to. Did I say that already? I don't think I did. And, till next time, thanks again for watching. This has been Steve the Amateur Historian.